Well, welcome to Watercolor 42, Studio 42. I leave out the studio occasionally. Yeah, Watercolor Studio 42. And today I'm going to do another little scene. I've been kind of hung up on some fall scenes lately because of the color, the leaves. So in some cases, I'm a little bit disappointed in the color this year. I was hoping that we'd have a little stronger color, but we certainly have had plenty of leaves, and the leaves, because of, I guess, of all the rain we've had this year, seem to be much larger. So anyway, so that's another story. Now, what I'm looking for here, I'm looking for maybe a little bit of blue, and see if I can find a tube that has a little bit of blue here. I know I have one in the box. There we go, a little bit of blue. All right. Okay, put that over here. All right, now I'm working from another picture. I guess it's from. Oh gosh, it would be hard to say. Usually, I do a lot of pictures from calendars, so you have a lot of the numbers with the months of the year on the back. But this one, somebody gave me this, and so what I do sometimes is work a little bit from that. This is a painting. Normally I work from a photograph, not so much of somebody else's painting, but this is kind of realistic, like similar to the idea of a photograph. I believe it's done probably watercolor, but it's hard to tell a little bit of the texturing, whether it's watercolor or maybe oil. But nevertheless, so what I do ahead of time is I do a quick sketch. Today I slowed down a bit, used my ruler quite a bit, because I was dealing with a building. And usually buildings, you have to get kind of those edges a little bit cleaner and straighter and so forth. When you're doing things from nature, you can kind of bend and twist and so forth with the pencil and the brush. But the thing is that today I'm doing this picture of the covered bridge. Okay, so here we go. Now, I'm going to start off with my marker, and I'm going to do some of the, maybe the final lines first. Now, I normally probably wouldn't depend on the marker as much if I was doing this at home. I would probably at home get away with just drawing a little heavier with the pencil. But my pencil sketches sometimes just don't show up as well. So let's see if I can do this with the marker. Okay, I'm going to start off with this baseline across the top of the roof here, or I should say the bottom portion of the roof. And we're going to just kind of hold that ruler there in place. Don't wiggle, right? Don't wiggle too much. And start this line over here, bring it right straight across and stop right about in there. Then let's do the top line again. Kind of get the ruler on the pencil mark and kind of bring that line down. There's a little bit of an angle to it, you know, the perspective idea of it. Okay, let's go this side here. Let's put that in. And we repeat the back end, the same angle as the front for the most part. And that will be somewhere in here. Okay, so now we got that roof on. Now let's do this other side over here. Get that on the pencil mark to some degree, I guess, huh? Don't have to be overly perfect, but, you know, try get it a little bit. Okay, now, in the picture, sometimes the doorway is has an angle to it, but I'm just going to do it kind of straight up and down edges, the side over here. See if I can get the pencil mark on there. Something like this. Okay, come down the side, and let's do the other one. These markers don't always work that good, so I have to be careful when I'm using them. There you go, 1. And then go back and do this one again, 1. And across the top, just a little bit of an angle to it in here. Okay, yep. Now, let's do the back edge. Now, you try to get the, when you do the building, unless it's an old barn that's kind of toppling over, you try to get the lines relatively straight because it's a man-made object. And so, now in the picture it has all these little windows across the top. Well, I'm going to try to make it a little bit easier for myself, I hope, and just make a wider window here, another one over here, and one down on the end. 3 areas that are open, okay? And then let's put the sides in. There's one here, and one over there. Here we go. Whoops. You get that on there. Yeah. Well, doesn't want to do it, I'll do it freehand. How's that? There you go. All right. Get those windows in. Oops, here we go. Okay. Something like that. Now, let's do across the bottom area. Again, that has just a slight perspective angle. And it's those kind of pitches back there. I didn't put it in too strongly because it wasn't that way in the picture. Across here, and of course you got the foundation that holds the bridge in place. You got to have it on both sides. Okay, one there. Now, when you get to some other things here, when you're dealing with nature, you can kind of freehand that a little bit because, again, it's sort of like broken lines, you know, you kind of make it a little bit choppier. You got something like that coming down. Let's bring this down to the water's edge in here. We can have that go off there. Let's see, keep this open here for the water. Put some shapes in there, make it interesting. Then you got a little bit of your background. You can put in some of that. Oops, I forgot the straight edge over here. Sorry about that. That back wall. Again, try to get it as straight as you can. Whoops. Let's get this up against here. There you go. All right, go right over that. All right, there you go. Now you got your trees. You're going to have some trees. You can have something kind of more or less in the foreground. Going up here. When I do trees, I don't make them curvy. I just make them a little bit choppy. You know, the branches, so forth, they branch out, and kind of make everything kind of connect here to the base. Maybe another tree off over in here, in back of. Let's see, something off here. You can add a lot more limbs and branches here if you want. Okay, something going this way. Okay. You can have something going up in here if you want. put another tree back there. Okay, now let's see. Let's come over here. Add a few more trees. You can have them go right to the tape. Go right to the tape. There you go. Okay, it fills in, breaks up that background space quite a bit there. Let's see. Oh, well, underneath the bridge, you might see some of the land that goes back around the corner here. We could do something like this and have that come into here, possibly. What else? What else? I'll fill in. Yeah, well, I'll show some of the banking. Put some of the bank in there. How's that? Some of the bank. And have it kind of go up a little bit, kind of bumpy here. Okay. Now this should, I hope, show up a little bit better. And it's a little bit easier for me to see the paint here. All right. Okay, here we go. I don't know how much more I want to put in there, but you can. I guess we could continue this line going inside the barn, or the, not the barn, but the covered bridge. Okay, here we go. Now, covered bridges back in the older days, they were a little bit more common because people were traveling, you know, horse and wagons and so forth. And I guess if it was a bad day, they could kind of stop underneath the covered bridge and kind of dry off a little bit, or whatever they had to do, and that's why they were more common. Nowadays, you go over a bridge, you're going over the bridge so fast that you really don't have time to stop, and there's so much traffic moving over the bridge. It's interesting how they talk about people, how many people are going to be traveling this year for the holidays. Oh my gosh, millions of people, right? Bus, train, you name it, plane, whatever. And of course using their own automobiles too. Here we go, yeah, we got something like that. Okay. Oh, okay, I got that corner in, got everything in that I know of. Yeah. Well, I hope this is showing up a little bit better on the TV screen at home. A lot of times, I know when I look at some of my programs that the pencil don't show up at all. So I do it this way and kind of get it lined out. Now, you can change and put in, leave out whatever you want. When you're looking at a photograph, looking at real live things, whatever it is, and then some other person's artwork. Now, when you're looking at somebody else's artwork, they've done some of the things for you a little bit ahead of time. They've made certain things a little bit more pronounced and whatnot, and so it's easier to work from somebody else's photograph or painting, previous painting. But if I do that, I never make it exactly the same. I always change something. I change the windows, the number of windows, or the sidewalk, or the color of the building itself and whatnot. So that's what we'll work on here. Now, what I'm going to do, seeing that this is kind of outdoors, let's put in. I usually take a big brush. Here's my favorite one over here. You take a larger brush and you wet your paper. You're going to wet the background. Let's just some water. You might have a little bit of color left in the brush, depending how much time you spent rinsing the brush out. I'm picking up a little bit of a bluish, purplish color, which is fine. That's what's in the picture anyways. That's what you see in the photograph that I'm looking at here. Okay, that's really dark, isn't it? You know, let's take some of that out of there. Okay, you can use that color down in here too. Distribute that in here. The big thing is to get some water and some paint on the paper. It's awful tricky sometimes just to look at a blank piece of paper and figure out, oh, how am I gonna do this, you know? So you get some color into it. Now this is sort of what I had on my brush and palette here. Sort of right. To me, it looks more purplish than blue, but nevertheless. You can come down into here. You can see it in some patches over in here. Yeah. Okay, now, when you're looking at the picture too, you can put in more color. You can take a little bit of yellow, drop some of that up in here, warm it up a bit, see that? And repeat some of that color somewhere down through here, possibly, over in here. Now, the paper is somewhat wet. It's I'm painting actually wetter to wet. Wet paint on the brush and wet paper. There you go. Okay, here. See how I distribute the color? Get some color into your paper to begin with. Okay, now get that ruler out of the way. Don't need that up there. Now, if you want, you can take a little wee bit of pink. Take some pink in there. Get some of that color in there. Oops. Now, you don't always have to spend a lot of time cleaning the brush off. Yeah, get some color there. Okay. Now, let's drop some color into here. We're going to drop some, of course, we're going to have some color into the building eventually. Put some back there. You use some of this raw sienna too. Put some of that color in there. Okay. I kind of wiggle around, kind of repeat the color so that it unifies it, kind of holds your composition together if you kind of put more distribution of the same colors in your picture. The artists always do that when they paint. They're always distributing the color that they're using. At first, it might not make much sense, but it seems to work out pretty well. Wheel this around. Now you can go a little bit darker if you want. It depends on how much you want to put into the, how much warm color you want to put into your picture. Okay, there you go. But you get the idea how I'm working the color around. Using a big brush, so you don't have to spend much time distributing the color. Let's see what else we can put in there. Maybe the roof, a little bit of gray. You might want to put some gray up in there. Leave some area where the snow might go. We can do the roof. Something like this. The artist has left some snow on the roof. Yeah, go across that way. Okay, let's see, get that out of there. And then even this color, right? Seeing that you're working with this Payne's gray, grayer color. You want to distribute some of that in some of these darker areas, maybe back here, down under the bridge right there. Pull this over here. Gets a little bit too much, you just pick up some of the paint while it's wet. There you go. Okay. Now sometimes when you're working spontaneously and you finish your painting, you say, I don't remember doing that. I don't remember doing this, because you're working so spontaneous, you don't think about, you know, what you're actually doing here. I'm going to blot some of that out, pick up some of the puddles. You know, it is darker into here. You can push that back there. Okay. Yeah. Okay, erase some of that in here. So actually what we're doing is building and building and building up some of the color. Taking a little bit of the other sort of the other shade there. Kind of a alizarin crimson type of color. So put some of that into the building. Take some of the edges off. Actually, it's sort of wood vertical paneling on the edge of the wall here. I went over the line a little bit. I can take some of that back out. Here we go. It's a little bit darker up in the doorway there. Just remind myself to fill that in more. Okay, you got some dark back here. Yeah, take some of that out, clean it up a bit. Yeah. A little bit more. Oh, let's get some more darker color up in there. That's not that dark, is it? Yeah, that's better. Okay, a little bit heavier. Keep building it up in here. Now, if this gets to be a little bit too strong to begin with, just take your brush and wipe it on a piece of paper towel and then go back over it and lift a little bit more of that water out of the brush. Let's see what we have here. Okay, that's that. Maybe this might be a little bit too dark in here. Okay, looks like a storm building up off here. Maybe I could kind of lighten it up a little bit more. Take some of that out. There. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm distributing the color around. And I do this all the time. I do it more so lately than I used to. I used to kind of just paint one particular area, spend a lot of time in that one spot, and then move on, you know. And lately, I've been just taking and dropping some wet into wet and getting some of these washes in of color, sort of the solid color. And hopefully by the time I get through, some of that color will kind of emerge back into the painting. Do some of this out here. I always try to make the corners a little bit different, I don't want the corners to look the same, exactly the same. So I kind of jump around a little bit. Okay. So, all right. Whoops, that's kind of dark. Oh, take some of that out of there. It is dark in the picture. And it's a little bit heavy. A little bit heavy over there. Okay, I'll get that out of the way. All right. All right, now let's see. Now, worst comes to worst, I can always start putting some of the light back into the painting if I have to. If I want to put like some more color back in here, you can kind of warm it up a little bit in places. And then you want to take your brush and just kind of spread it around. You don't want it to get too heavy in there, but you can push it around in there. Now that's a little bit much, isn't it? It seems to be. We don't want to make it look like there's still leaves, a patch of leaves out there. So let's take some of that out of there. And spread it around. You put some of that color back into here. Yeah, something like that. A little bit out in here. You might see a little bit up in this area. Okay. So you're building up like a foundation here. You're getting some of these base colors in. And like I said, if it gets a little bit too heavy, I just slow down and say, oh, okay, let's clean it up a little bit. Let's pull some of that color out, blot it out, or pull it out with the brush. Okay. All right, now, we're at a particular point where now we can sort of slow down just a little bit. If you want to go back into this, you can go back into it with a smaller brush. I might pick up a smaller brush. I'm letting some of this color kind of settle in a little bit here. Let it dry. And then we can come back into it, and what areas need to be painted a little bit darker, then we can work on that. Okay. Now, where do you start? Where do you start? Do you do the building first? Do you do the landscape around it? This is somewhat up to the artist, what they feel they want to do with it. You have to make that decision, if I'm getting a little bit too heavy over here, I have to kind of tap it out or pull it out with a brush. Okay. Now this can come down a little bit lower to the roof. You want to warm it up a little bit. Right in through here. It's a little bit much. A little bit much. I'm starting to work on the sky, the top, work from top to bottom. Now you can drop in a little bit more color if you want. I'm going to put some of that color back into this. It gets a little bit much, too much, and you can take some of that out and put some down back into here. That's the beauty of watercolor, though. You can jump around a little bit with it. We're going to put some brighter red up in here. Right up in this area, you're going to see a little bit more darker color. Right in that area. Okay. You can pull that down a little bit more. Just a little bit more into there. And clean that up a little bit there along the edge. You can stick with a larger brush for a while if you want. And a lot of times you don't have to stay. If you don't want to stay on the edge, you don't have to. You can go over the edge a little bit. I noticed the end down here is a little bit brighter. So we'll pull that in. Some of the areas that are going to be much darker, you can paint on top of them for now. And we'll just put some color right through here. A little bit on this end. Okay. Now, is there any more of this color here? I don't know. There might be a little bit of a carryover out into here. Not that much, though. Let's give it a little bit of a blot. Quiet it down a little bit. There. Okay. We might see a little bit of that color down into this area. Something like that. Okay? Now, you're going to be moving around a little bit with this. There is a little bit of a shade of pink that kind of drifts up into here too, some red. We'll put some of that in. Oh, excuse me. If it looks a little bit too much, you can soften it out with a brush. Pull some of it out, or you can blot it with a paper towel. Okay, a little bit warmer. Okay, now, you're almost getting to a point where you might want to take a closer look at where we're at here, and we might want to decide where we want to go a little bit darker with color. And I know there's some dark areas all through here. So another dark area over here, dark over there, a little bit darker. Maybe a little bit on the back. See how light that is in here? All of that's got to be a little bit quieted down a bit. Okay. Let's see if I can get some color back here. I'll fill it in anyways. All right. Okay. Okay, a little bit of color. I want to start going a little bit deeper into here, underneath. A little bit stronger in there. And again, just pull that down. Kind of the contour of the landscape. Okay, break it up into here. Okay, now we're going to go darker over here. A lot deeper color. Right underneath there. On the column that supports the bridge, right in through here and around the bend, so to speak. Okay, it's a little bit strong, so we want to pull some of that out. Spread it around a bit. It's a little bit much in there. Let's see if I can soften that up a bit. Okay, bring that down again. Everything gets a little bit deeper color. Okay, some more darker color up in here. Kind of along the edge there. Now, if I do sometimes the edges, and if I get a little bit kind of messy there, I clean it up later and kind of give it a little bit more contrast with the brush. See how you can kind of lighten it up a bit in places? So even that helps a little bit there. Let's do this over here. Now here you can actually take some of the white out and make it look like a birch tree. Right through there. You can see it maybe in the picture. You can just pull some of that color out like that and lighten it up automatically. Okay, there you go. Darker on the side of the building. And it gets much darker up in here, right under the eaves. So we can go a little deeper in there. Right along through this area. You can put the windows in if you want. Make them darker. There you go, right along under there. Take some of that out of there. Now, anytime you have get into a problem, if you don't like a particular area, that's when you use some of that white acrylic paint. I got a whole big tube of it over here. You can always go back and add some white into it, and also, of course, you can show a little bit of the snow, a little bit of the dusting of the snow on the roof and whatnot of the building. Let's see what we can do here. Okay. Now my painting is well, not totally different, but a lot different from how that person originally painted it. I don't try to copy anybody if I can help it. Okay. Let's see what we can do over here. Now, there's a lot of contrasting you can do, and making things a lot darker. But sometimes what I do is I have to wait until it dries out, and then I come back and I come in very strong with the brush, you know. Really come back strong with the brush. I don't know what else. We could probably lighten up around the base here. See, show a little bit of snow in there, I guess, coming down. Or on the ground, anyway. This could be much lighter. Supposed to be water going under the bridge. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So, now, a lot of times when you're at this stage, it doesn't look as good, and I guess it's not supposed to look finished, anyways. But sometimes you have to be careful. You don't scrub the paper too much because you take some of the paper off, especially if it's not. Oh, you can scrub cloth, like cotton paper. You can rub that and it doesn't disintegrate as fast. Okay. Sometimes you can break this up into here, do some things with that. Okay. So we're kind of building on it. Now, I've been using the same size brush so far for the whole picture, but you don't have to. You can kind of say, okay, that's so much for this larger brush. Now, we got to start getting fussier and putting in some of the texture. But sometimes, like I said, you have to hold off and wait a little while and let the paper dry before you go back and try to do the finishing textures to the paper. We're off to a pretty good start with this. It's a matter of deciding, you know, how much you want to emphasize. And we got some texture to put into the building. I think I'm going to use maybe a smaller brush, something like this, eventually. And then you're going to paint on top of the dry. You're going to put in some of the actual texture of the wood, the paneling and so forth. The windows, they have to be painted in. They're going to be really sort of in dark, very dark. And define the background a little bit more. I want to finish the water off in here. If I have to, I take my, where did I leave it? The big tube. You could take some of your acrylic paint. I usually squeeze this tube up because the water sometimes separates from the pigment. So I squeeze the tube a little bit, and then when you put a little bit of your paint out, if I can get a little bit, I don't want to take too much out today, you can come back, you can take a clean brush, dry brush if you want, and here's where you can put back in any of the, let's say along here, you wanted to show some more snow on the ground. Watch this. Just paint it in. Just use your white and just paint it back in. The birch of a tree, you can show some of the snow on the branches. So there's a lot you can do by the time you get through. So what I'm going to be doing today is just kind of finishing this off a little bit more. I'll paint in some of the windows for you. Some of these openings. It can be dark, you know, it can be dark on the inside. We can get some color, and not color, but some darker shade and paint in the windows. You might have to clean it up a little bit. Now the opening, the doorway, that's going to be much darker in here. Again, when the paint dries, then you can kind of control the area a little bit more where you want the real dark colors to go. And right underneath the bridge here, I say bridge, covered, well, it is a bridge, covered bridge. But the thing is, that's going to be a darker color in here, all across here. You're going to have some darker shading underneath the eaves and whatnot. And we could do more with the color. Now, so we're at this particular stage. And it's just a matter of just, you know, just touching up some of the detail, clean it up a little bit more. And we're off and running with a pretty good painting. Whether I make the roof darker, I can make the roof a lot darker. And even if I only just put a little bit more shading, like this, even if I put more texture, it might help the roof to come out better, okay? So that's the idea of that. Now, the water in here, I may have to go back to some blue and really put more blue, some blue in here so that we know that's water coming down through here. You know, get some blue back in there. Okay. Now I just wanted to talk. I'm going to let this dry, and we're going to kind of finish it off, and I'll bring it back next time. But remember last week I was talking about this little project. Now I have here 1, 2, 3, 4 times about 16 squares. So 4 times 4, 16, yeah. Now the thing is, I don't know if you're going to have 16 guests coming for Easter, but what you can do, if they want, they could start off and they could do something with the marker, okay? They can do something with the marker, make a little design. Now, the thing is, what I was thinking of is giving everybody a separate little square piece of paper, and they can you can have a colored background, soft color, and they can do something on here, and then take this square and paste it into one of these squares that you have on the you know, the board, the paper, and then paste all the things together. Now this year we're planning on probably at least 9 people maybe coming, so I'll divide this up into the squares up into 9 that will fit into the 9 squares that I've drawn on the paper, and have them. We'll just paste their little picture or word or whatever into those particular squares until we have all the number of people that are going to be there. Now, if you have somebody missing, you can always fill in another little square for them, or have somebody else do 2 instead of 1, type of thing. So that's a little project for Thanksgiving. Then you can read off all the things that people are thankful for. That's an interesting thing. If somebody comes up with a better idea, that's fine, but it's just to get everybody kind of involved and thinking a little bit more about what they're really thankful for. Okay, very good. So that's what we'll be working on. We'll finish this. We'll try to get this covered bridge done. Right now, it doesn't look like a covered bridge. It looks like it's setting on the ground. So I gotta have some water running under the bridge. But for now, this is just the background colors that we put in. And you let it set dry, and then you go back to a smaller brush, and then you can put in more of the definition or detail, if you will, into pulling the picture together. I did that, I think I was showing you a little bit. This one I did before. The bridge didn't show up as much, so we're trying to pull the bridge out and have that jump out a little bit more. And even in the trees in the foreground, we can give this a little bit more attention in here too. So that's a couple of little projects that you can work on. So this time of year, before it's too late, the leaves are disappearing, they're falling off the trees in a hurry. But it's a good time if you want to go out to paint. That would be good to do some nice color, Use your yellow, orange, and your reds for the leaves, and have some fun with it. Before all the leaves are on the ground, they turn brown, and then the snow covers them. Maybe if we have some snow, and the leaves themselves. If the leaves are too heavy, they may not all kind of disintegrate and kind of go back into nature. So sometimes you have to chop them up. Some lawnmowers, they have a chopper on them. You chop the leaves up and then spread them out thinner. And they're like adding fertilizer to the soil. Okay? So anyways, so I guess we're running out of time for this week. And if I'm not back next week, I'll take next week off. Next week's supposed to be next Thursday is Thanksgiving, so I probably won't be back by Thanksgiving. But I'm just going to thank everybody for being with us today, and really think about some of the things you're really thankful for. I think compared to what's going on in our world, we should be very thankful for where we're at and whatnot. So, good. So, I almost forgot. Brushes up, and we'll see you next time, okay? All right.